And so just thank you so much for being here. She's going to talk all about right-sizing, downsizing. She has an awesome resource in that folder for you. And I'm just going to turn it right over to her to get started. So thank you for coming, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. I hope there is crackers, cookies over here. Clear it out. Don't let me bring anything home because my husband would eat it all. I wanted to say first, thank you for coming, because it's not always an easy thing to have to talk about. I like to call it right-sizing. Most people use the term downsizing, because that's you're going into a smaller space typically. Whether that be a senior community, you're selling your house, buying a smaller house, you're selling your house and buying a condo, moving in with family, whatever the case is. Some people age in place where they stay in their home, but they still want to downsize the space that they have. So, let's see, if you have lived in your house for more than 20 years, raise your hand. Should have started higher. More than 30 years. More than 40. 50. More than 50 years. More than 60 years. Okay. How long have you been in your house for?
60.
60 years. Well, you, my dear, you get a special book. It's by Matt Paxton, and it's called Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff. When you think about downsizing, when you think about right-sizing, it kind of can be overwhelming. You have closets you probably haven't opened up in maybe a year or two or longer. I'm trying to be nice. You might have drawers that you haven't opened in a long time, and you might have a little, eight-legged friend living in the back corner. And you're not the only one. I will be the first one to admit that my junk drawer has a junk bin inside of the junk drawer, okay? It happens. We acquire things, we forget about them. We acquire things, or they're given to us by whether it's family member, friend, what have you. There's going to be a lot of information in the presentation, but I want to talk about the folder first. So inside of the folder, you have, our parent company is called Amston Real Estate. But who I work for is Amston Home Transition Solutions. We are a company that does downsizing, decluttering, pre-packing, moving, unpacking, organizing. We have estate sales. We do real estate. We will actually come in and clean the house as well before photos are taken to put the house on the market. We can install. We can do home modifications like install, grab bars, ramps. We can also go in and take them out before the house goes on the market. So that's why I wanted to say that, because the title on top is a little different. On the left side, you have 25 things that you can go home and get rid of today. This is a quarter-size version of the 100 things that we have a list of. And if you'd like it, on this side, you've got a presentation survey. And there is a checkbox that says, I would like a copy of the guide to 100 things to throw away immediately. If you would like that one, we can send it to you via email, or we can mail it out to you. You would just need to fill out the top portion of your name, address, phone number, email, and then we can get that to you, along with the other options here. This is just one of our brochures. The other one is, I know that we're in East Longmeadow. It's not far from Connecticut. I'm actually from Connecticut. I live there. And we have most of our work in Connecticut. But we have slowly been branching up here into Mass, because we have been finding that there are a lot of people that need this service, and there's not a lot of companies out there that provide this service for seniors only. Well, 55 and up, I'll say that. And it's become a need, a high demand need for these things to come. And sometimes they're ahead of the ball. Sometimes they are ready to start downsizing because they have, whether it's a 2-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, they know that at some point they're going to be transitioning out of their home, wherever their final destination is, whether it's senior community, family friend, downsizing to a condo, smaller house, whatever the case is. We have people that need this now. So because we are in Connecticut, you might have a second home in Connecticut. Maybe you're thinking about moving to Connecticut because that's where your family is. So if you would like a Connecticut resource guide, which has different information on it, you just want to check that box and we'll send that to you as well. And then we offer free assessments. It most likely would be me. You and I would connect with each other on a time that would work best for you. I would come out, take a look at your house, take some photos, and I would, in 2 days, turn around and give you an estimate. It's an estimated cost of services on what it would cost you to have us come in and downsize, to have us come in and declutter, to have us come in and pack you up, move you, unpack you. It's an a la carte menu. You can pick and choose what you'd like to do based off of what you have the ability to do, based off of what your family is able to help you with. And if you just, if you say, okay, well, that's just too much, I'll do that on my own, but you guys can come and help and do all the heavy lifting, we can do that too. So if you'd like a free assessment, then we'll contact you for that. We'll get that scheduled for you. I am going on vacation. I leave on Wednesday. I come back Wednesday the 2nd. So if you want me, you got to wait just a little bit. If not, we have other people that can come up and do it. And then the last one is I'd like to be contacted for a free real estate evaluation. So that's another aspect of it. You might have realtors in your family. You might be a realtor yourself. Maybe you used to do that. You have somebody, maybe you still are in contact with a person that sold you your home. But it's always good, just like you're not going to go to a brand new car dealership and buy the first car that you test drive. You need to get quotes from multiple people. And I'll tell you the same thing when it comes to moving, comes to packing, downsizing. If there is another company locally that you can get a quote from, do so. One thing that I will guide you with is I will tell you what to ask them. It's sad to say this, but it's the truth, where they will put hidden fees and, it'll be a number, and then there'll be that little tiny print that says plus this or plus that, or fees to be added after. You need to find out what that number truly entails and what you're actually being quoted for. So that's something that I want, that I would give you and I would talk to you about at the time of your assessment. And then at the bottom, just kind of, how did I do? Did I talk loud enough? Did I give you enough useful information? Did you know everything that came out of my mouth already? So just to help me make myself and the presentation better, any feedback, if you want to leave it blank, no problem. I'll take it back. Or if you can keep it if you want. It doesn't bother me at all. I am going to leave some with Alicia, so that way, if there's somebody who that couldn't make it today and would like a folder, you think they could, use one. If you want an extra one to give to your neighbor who maybe couldn't come, I've got plenty. I am out of business cards, but that's okay. I can give you folders that have the same information in it. Okay, so let's get started. Now, this shouldn't take more than an hour. We should be done by the time lunch is served. I do have the tendency to banter. I will try to keep that to a minimum. If you ever have any questions, we will have a Q&A at the end, and I will be here and be available even if you wanted to go get lunch and then come back in and talk to me after. Just let me know that you're going to go grab food, eat, and then come back in, and I will wait for you. Okay, so downsizing comes with a lot of emotions. You might be surprised as to how much stuff you have. You might not want your husband to see the back of your closet or your son or daughter. There's a lot of emotions when it comes to downsizing, and it's something that we all experience. Downsizing and emotions have no prejudice against age, because I'm kind of going through it right now. When I buy new clothes, I put them in my closet and I take the tag off, and when I wear it like 3 months later. I know Lucy did this in an episode. She puts it in her closet and she wears it like 2 months down the road, and then Ricky will say, well, is that a new dress? Like, no, it's been in the closet for months. It's true. I'm not lying. It's been there for months. I just haven't worn it yet. So now let's talk about what downsizing is. Keeping essential items. Essential, that's a flexible word. Essential. What's essential to me might not be essential to my husband. What's essential to you might not be essential to your kids. So you got to think about that. Decluttering, or removing the clutter that holds you down. Think about the things that you haven't touched, you haven't thought about, that if it's got a layer of dust on it, you might be okay with throwing it out. Unless it's a picture, sentimental, we'll get into that too. That's another area. Sometimes, and I tell this to my 19-year-old, when your room is clean, you feel better. It's like, oh, the air in here, I can feel it. It's not being stopped by this over here or this over here. So you got to think about taking control and taking back your environment. It's a conscious choice to create an environment that aligns with your current needs and wherever you are in your life at that moment. Maybe you were an art teacher and maybe you have an entire room full of crafts. And maybe those crafts haven't been used in a while. So what could you do with them? I was an elementary school teacher. I was a kindergarten teacher for 10 years in Hartford. We love donated house crafts, whether it's little stickies with numbers, letters, magazines. To have a 5-year-old practice their cutting, to cut out different, find colors on certain pages, cut them out, use a glue stick. That stuff it's wonderful to kindergarten teachers. So that's another resource that is not in that guide that I wanted to pass along to you because I had to do that myself. When I stopped teaching, I kept it because, at the time I had a 14-year-old, maybe I'll have another baby. And then I got rid of it. And then I met my husband and I have a 10-month-old. So I should have kept it, but I didn't, but that's okay. I can get more. This is just a cute picture. I liked it. So when you think about how long you've been in your house, 60 years, that is a blessing. My husband and I are still trying to buy our first house, and it is terrible right now. You have maybe kids, nieces, nephews, friends, neighbors. They may not want anything you have. It's a sad thing to say, but nowadays, I know when I was young, if my grandmother had wanted to give me something, I would have taken it gladly. My first apartment, I slept on the floor. I didn't have a bed. I didn't have a dresser. I had a kitchen table that was randomly on the side of the street that I picked up and brought home. But some of these things are not wanted by the people that are in your life. And that's not a terrible thing. Maybe they have a bunch of their own stuff. Maybe they don't like your stuff. It's hard to hear, but it's a reality. Nowadays, we've got cell phones, laptops, computers. There's digital picture frames. Has anybody seen a digital picture frame? You might have gotten it as a birthday gift where your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews can email a picture to an email address and you can see that picture come across that picture frame. Those are wonderful. I send pictures to my grandmother all the time. I don't know if she looks at them, but I send them. So, now be honest. Some people have been either in a house that had a room like this, or there is a room like this in your house.
This makes me feel good.
There's all kinds of, and I will say that we have had hoarding situations. Hoarding is an actual disorder. Yeah. It is real. We had a physician. Now you would think, okay, a college-educated doctor, medical doctor, understands the severity when it comes to the cleanliness of a hoarding situation. You would think that he would have, I'll call it, I guess the best frame of mind to understand and not let that happen. That's not the case. That is not the case. Hoarding has no discrimination against age, race, color, size, height, nothing. It happens. We've had situations like this. It's a reality. Sometimes I feel like that at the end of my day. Now, I do presentations, but I will be the person sometimes I am the person to come in and do the work with you. If you sign up for a concierge service and you want little bits at a time, you don't want to be overwhelmed with a lot, hello, I'm here. I'm here to help you. Yeah, emotions. Emotional regulation. I unfortunately don't have anything from my childhood. I wish I did. And every time I do a consultation or an assessment and I see family photos of great-grandparents or, the photos that are completely frayed and torn in the edges because they've been passed down, those are irreplaceable. And if I could say that I had them again, I think I said this before we started, if I could take certain things with me in my casket, I would. But I don't think it'd be big enough. So we've got to think about the things that we can do to help us through that. Anxiety and worry. Well, if I get rid of it, would the person that's in this picture, would they be upset with me? What if my great-grandchild down the road says, do you have any photos of this person? It happens. Loss of control, that's common. And sometimes just getting rid of it, it makes you happy. There's a lot of emotions when it comes to downsizing. Yeah, you can get a sense of calmness too once it's all said and done, sense of relief. So we have so many personality types. Sentiment, or sentimental, an evader, a materialist, a habit keeper, high achiever. Everybody in here falls somewhere. You might hit 2 or 3. It depends on the piece you're talking about. It depends on the bedroom you're talking about. Now, when we talk about, there's something in here that I chose not to put in because I like to talk about it as opposed to read about it, but grief, the loss of a loved one, whether it's a spouse, a child. I have, unfortunately, both of my parents have passed before the age of 60, and I still have both. I have a box of my mom's stuff, and I have a box of my dad's stuff. And I would never, I won't, sorry to say, my 19-year-old and my 10-month-old, when I pass, they're gonna have to deal with it. And whatever they choose to do with it, I'll be dead, I won't care. So I'll let them deal with it. But that's all I really wanna live with. So the too much clutter. I mean, I see about 8 things in that drawer right now that I have in my drawer at home. And it all has dust on it. So what does this clutter do? It does create stress. You look at it, it's a mess. It's like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? It can create a burden on other people. My husband has his own junk drawer. It's full of tools and nails and double-sided tape and what do you call measuring tapes and levels. I don't go in there because there's something I need in there. And it does. If you think about the things in your junk drawer, if you went through that junk drawer and you said, oh, I had one of those, I just bought one 3 months ago. You just wasted some money because you had a junk drawer and you didn't look through it. Yeah, how does that make you feel? That's what my daughter's closet looks like, by the way. Okay? I don't know. I keep thinking that I've got a 19-year-old and a 10-month-old. It's just a little gap, right? Just a little one. I'm hoping my son doesn't grow up to have a closet like that, but who knows? So this was funny. The 80-20 rule. Most women wear 20% of their clothes 80% of the time. Some say that women only use 90% of what's in their closet. I think that's the women that say that you use 90% of what's in your closet. I can't wear half the things in my closet right now. That's okay. Now, this might speak to some of the guys in the room or some of the crafty ladies or very hands-on ladies in the room. If you have a garage or a shed and you've done less and less outside work because you don't want to do it anymore, you can't physically do it anymore, but you've got something like that, it looks like that. Yeah, it's not always a good feeling. So why do we downsize? We got to open up space, remove clutter, try to get that stress down, and we know at some point, I mean, we're all born with no clothes on us. We're born with nothing, and that's how we die. So what are we really going to take with us, aside from our love and our memories? And it is hard. When you think about all of the boxes that you would have to put in all of your items. Now, you can't just throw everything in a box, right? You've got to wrap it. You've got to protect it. It creates less space. You can't fit everything inside of a box. It's hard. It's hard to think about. It's hard to deal with. Why? I may be 38, but I can't do everything I used to do 10 years ago. I'm still trying to get rid of baby weight. It's not happening. It's not happening. Everybody's at a different part of their life. Some people may not have help. I know a lot of families that the reason why they had to hire us and why they're working with us is because maybe they didn't have children, or maybe their children live in another continent. Maybe they don't have good relationships with their children, and their children don't want to come and help. Those are realities. They happen. It's just emotional. It really is. I don't want to do it. I don't. I'd rather sit on the couch, have my cup of coffee, have my chocolate-covered cannoli with chocolate chips inside of it. Hence the reason why I can't get rid of my baby weight. And then the mindset. You got to want to do it. Our mind is a limiting factor. You have to want it, period. That's with everything. I want to lose weight, I have to want it. I want to live in a clean home, I've got to do the work to do it. I have to want it. Yeah. It's like, I can't sell the house. What am I going to do with all this stuff? It's a reality. It's what a lot of people go through. But you can't think that. You've got to take back the control and make the decisions about what you want, about what's important to you. Think about what you're going to use. Maybe you were that art teacher and you have a room of art supplies. No, you don't need everything there, but maybe where you're moving to, let's say you are moving to a senior community. I'm going to be doing a similar presentation at East Village Place in November. Maybe if you are moving somewhere, you want to be in the art space and help. You've got supplies to give, hold on to them if you have a purpose for them. There's got to be a purpose behind what you are choosing to keep. These are some steps. They're very, when you see them and you read them and you think about them, you're like, yeah, I knew that. But sometimes seeing it, sometimes hearing it, sometimes being in that time frame in your life that you know it's time, those words hit differently. It's never too early to start. What do you need? Always keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. It does not have to be complicated. What is best for you? You know what's best for you. Got to be honest with yourself. But you know what's best for you. Think about the things you want, and hopefully they align with the things that you need. What's holding you back? Let's think about our needs. What is the bigger picture? What is your plan? What's your goal? Maybe if you are downsizing and you're going from a 3-bed, 2-bath where 2 beds are empty and you're going to a 1-bed, well, you're not going to need 2 bedroom sets, 2 additional bedroom sets. So what do you want to do with them? There are some rooms in my house, some closets in my house that I have not looked in since I moved in. I say house, I mean apartment. Apartments can be big. You can hide things in apartments very easily. Sometimes it's easier that way because you don't want to go in there. Take a picture or make a list. Some people don't. I'm not all about having to have millions and millions of pictures on my phone of things that I'm never going to look at again. Or you can take a piece of paper and write it down. You can categorize them. Make it simple for yourself. Be intentional. What do you want for a plan? What is your end result? What is it that you want to get out of the downsizing? Maybe you don't plan on moving. Maybe you plan on staying home. You still want to stay in a home that's free and clear of clutter. You want to be able to have company over where there's a place to sit. Maybe somebody's coming to stay for a couple of days and you have a spare room, but right now the spare room is full of trophies or Hummels. Who knows? Yeah, the room by room. That can be overwhelming. I wouldn't do this all in a day. Take it one day at a time, one room at a time. We'll talk about that in a few slides. Some people, if you have the ability to have an accountability partner, use them. If they're going to be there to help you, tell them how you want their help. They may not know how to help you, but if you tell them what you need, chances are they're with you because they love you. Or maybe they just like you a lot. But they're there to help you. Just tell them what you need. And maybe you don't know at the time. That also can be a time where you tell them what you're imagining and what you'd like, and they can help you figure that part out. Small tasks. Don't do it all day long. Don't burn yourself out. Start with a half an hour, 10 minutes. Take a box from a spare room that you haven't gone through. Sit down on the couch, put on The Price is Right, sit down and just go through it. Have a trash bag for garbage, and have a smaller box for the things you really do want to keep. Because that box will probably be gone through again, and chances are all the stuff in that will end up getting thrown out too. But you've got to do it in waves. You've got to stay focused. You've got to think about the long term. I love chocolate. I'll have a piece of chocolate as my reward. Don't stop. Just like they say, when you want to do something, don't wait till tomorrow. Start now. Start when you go home. Take that one little box that's in the corner. It's a shoe box. You don't even remember what's in it. Bring it to yourself. Bring it to your seat, your favorite spot, your sunroom. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and just start going through it. One little thing at a time. Stick to the plan. I know it's always good to see where you started and your progress in between. It helps keep you motivated. So that's really important. It's important to know that you're making progress. I know you've seen the word focus a few times, but it's important. It's hard. It's hard to stay focused. It's hard to stay on task. Some tips. Inventory. If anybody's ever worked for a retailer, if anybody's ever worked, I've had to take inventory of my kindergartners. You got to count them before you leave the room. You got to count them outside, and you got to count them when you line up to come back inside, especially on field trips. God forbid I lose a child. Take your inventory. One room at a time. Identify common clutter areas. It's always closets. For me, at least, it's always, because a closet has a door. If it's behind the door, who cares? Nobody can see it. And you know what? Some guys, we have some chefs that are male, the guys that love to be in the kitchen and cook. I have 8 spatulas. I can tell you what I do with each one of those spatulas. They all have a job. Do I need 8? No, I don't. Am I going to keep 8 for now? Yes, I am. Until I either find somebody who needs them, or my husband gets sick of them and throws them away when I'm not looking. One of the two. There's a lot of kitchen things that either have a frayed plug that's not safe. Throw it out. If you really need it, go to Savers or Walmart and get another one. Borrow your neighbor's. Your neighbor might have one that they're not even using. It's probably the exact same one you used to have, but it doesn't have a frayed cord. Undamaged items. A lot of my kitchen things are undamaged, but I use them maybe once or twice a year. Thanksgiving things, right? Easter platters. Well, I'm not getting rid of that. Now, if I'm not hosting anymore, do I need it? No, maybe a young couple moved in a few houses away and they don't have any of that. Repurpose it. Sometimes the reason why it's hard to let go of things, it's not because it has sentimental value. It's a platter. It's because you don't want to see it go to waste when it is in perfectly good condition. Repurpose it, regift it, allow another family, allow another person to get use out of it. It's just like your house. When you sell your house and you've been in it for so long, it becomes difficult to let that go. But when you think about the fact that a young family is now moving in to create more memories, it helps that burden be lifted. It helps that sadness of having to leave your space become a little bit easier. These are some of the things in your list. I just had an overhaul of my pantry. I threw out things that were expired. Open boxes that I ate half of and didn't finish. I don't know why. I'd say if I don't finish something, then that means I probably really didn't like it. So I threw it out. You can't donate expired food. So if it's something that you went through a phase and you bought, you went to Costco and you bought a 25 box of protein bars and they don't expire for 2 years. But eventually it started to taste chalky to you. Well, donate them. That's okay. They're not expired. That's fine. Unused clothing. I have clothes that are too small that I can't fit into, but I have a goal. I'm going to fit into them. I'm not getting rid of them yet. And then I had my pregnancy clothes, which are still too big for me. Well, I don't know if I've had any other baby in there, so I can't get rid of them yet. Puzzles, games. I've got a bunch of those too, and I don't use them as often as I think. Old electronics. If it doesn't work, I don't even keeping it. Just get rid of it. Toss it. Kitchen gadgets, chipped or cracked items. If it's gonna be a hazard, you're gonna have, you know, a friend or family over that's got a little one and they might get hurt with it, throw it out. Let's just toss it. If you really do need it again, chances are you'll be able to buy it for a lot cheaper than when you bought it the first time. Things you've been meaning to fix. I wish my husband was here. Pens that don't work anymore. Cleaning supplies. How many of you have cleaning bottles in your cabinet that have this much liquid left in it? Throw it out. You don't need it. Buy some more. Or make your own. That's another thing that's been happening a lot lately. Takeout menus. We all have those. I can tell you exactly where they are in my kitchen. Luggage, suitcases, unless you plan on traveling. But usually when you're traveling either with a family or when you're younger and you really cared about how many different outfit changes and how many shoes go with this, and you might not need as many as you have. Pick your favorite one, pick the biggest one, or pick the one that can go on the plane so you don't have to pay an extra fee to stow your luggage. Donate the rest. Worn out linens. We talked about the linens and where they can go. I'm all for the bonfire thing. Backyard, a little fire, just little pieces at a time. Mismatched socks. I think I'm the queen of mismatched socks. Although they match today. That's the funny thing. Books, magazines. Oh, okay, so lots of libraries can take books. Some libraries are overwhelmed with books. There are libraries everywhere. If the one in your town is not willing to take them, call the next town over. You live in one spot. You have a whole radius of towns around you. Call every single one of them. I guarantee you at least one of them will be happy to take your books. Old magazines, I definitely recommend calling your local elementary schools or daycare, because sometimes preschools at age 4, they might start with that fine motor skills with the cutting of the scissors. They would love magazines. The only thing is they will ask you to go through, make sure there's no random ads of, Hanes underwear, tear them out. We don't need little kids seeing that stuff. I had to go through that. I had to make sure that nothing in the magazines had anything inappropriate in it. That'd be the only thing to do before you donate them. Old jewelry you never wear if it has no value. Costume jewelry is what we call it. Like this, these bracelets. I popped one. I didn't care. It didn't mean anything to me. Toss it. Regift it. Containers, Chinese food containers. Yeah, everybody has some, right? Leftovers. Or what I like to do is if I have, containers that I don't care about, or if you have red sauce or spaghetti and you heat it up and it's got that line on the inside, the next time you have people over and you cook for them, let them take it home with some extra food. You kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You don't have any leftovers in your fridge, and you got rid of a container. Paperwork, the shredding. Credit unions, yes, I know my credit union does it. Some regular banks, it doesn't matter if you're a member or not, they'll do a community day. You just have to call and find out. Sometimes you just call, you get a customer service person. Hey, do you guys have a community shredding day coming up? Nope, call them. There are banks on it. There's more banks than there are Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, and that says a lot. Makeup, ladies, makeup. If you've had it for more than a year, it's no good. I don't care what the expiration says. If it's more than a year old, throw it out. Yeah, I try really hard to keep my counter from looking like that. But it happens, especially if you have kids or grandkids that you help take care of, or a neighbor, or a husband that's like mine and just lets me do it. Flat surfaces, countertops, refrigerators, pantries, mudrooms, hobby rooms, playrooms, junk drawers, bathroom cabinets. Under the sink is terrible, because that's where you put everything you really don't care about. The best thing that you could do for your family's future generations to come, because photos are going to disintegrate. Photos will become so rare, wrinkled, they're going to fall apart. Digitize them. I believe in your resource guide, there are 2 websites that you can either take a photo or send the photo if you really want a clear, actual duplicate of the picture, and you put it in the cloud. The cloud is just a wonderful place because it holds an enormous amount of things. You can allow the great-great-great-grandchild down the road, once you're long gone, to say, oh my God, I look just like her. Those things are irreplaceable, but that doesn't mean that you have to keep the physical part. Digitize them. There are companies now that will take VHS tapes and put them on DVDs. They'll take VHS or DVDs, home videos, and put them on a USB drive. Or you can store it in the cloud, put it up in the internet space, and just give the link to all the tech-savvy people you might know. Grandkids, nieces, nephews, all those lovely people who would love, maybe not right now, they may not appreciate it, but they will one day. And the fact that they'll have that is going to be important to them, even though they may not know it now. So ask yourself, have you used it in the past 6 months? Does it still work? Plug it in and find out. Let's see. It doesn't take very long. Do you have a spot for it? That doesn't mean go out and buy another cabinet to make a spot. Does it hold sentimental value? Do you want a loved one to have it? Do they want it? Those 2 things have to be asked. Rules of thumb. If you haven't used something in at least 6 months, as long as it's not seasonal, because I don't wear high boots all the time. I'm not wearing them in the summertime. Let it go. Okay, I don't know if I agree with that one. I'll just skip over that. That's okay. If something doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it. Be ruthless. 1 room at a time. Divide it up. Keep, trash, donate, sell. I would like to assume that at least half of the people in here receive Amazon boxes. Raise your hand if you get an Amazon box at least once a month. Okay, a little less than half. I misspoke. Use them. And if it's not an Amazon box, it could be a bin. A bin that maybe had, Christmas ornaments in it that are now broken. Throw out those and reuse that bin. What do you want to keep? What do you want to donate? What would you like to see repurposed? Things that can get thrown out, aside from the things we've already been over, things that might have exposed screws. Anything that's rusty, you can't donate. Anything with cracked wood, you can't donate. It won't be accepted. Anything, let's say, okay, here's an example. Let's say your basement. No water damage. It doesn't have, a stinky basement smell, but let's say you had a small mouse infestation for about a week. You called, you got rid of it, it's done. But there's some excrement that's lingering. Those things you can't donate, because where there's mouse poop, there's mouse pee. Can't donate it. And it's weird to say this, but the donation centers that we've worked with, they can spot that stuff a mile away. They know what it smells like, they know what it looks like, and they will refuse it on the spot if they even think that it has been exposed to a rodent of any kind. Reducing kitchen items. Yes, I don't want to, but I know I need to. Duplicates. Oh my 8 spatulas. Yes, there's 8 of them, but they have different purposes. They're not broken, but there are duplicates. Could I get away with just 1? Yes. Would I live? Yes. Unwanted items. Donate it. Items, spices. Do you know that some spices are supposed to be in the refrigerator? Yes. I couldn't tell you which ones. I don't know. But I heard, somebody told me, actually an elder from my church, she keeps certain spices in her refrigerator. I did not know that. I had no idea. Go through the pantry. Just like when you do laundry. If you are the type of person who does laundry and leave the clean clothes in the basket, and then you throw the dirty clothes on the floor, and then you pick from the basket, if you throw those clean clothes on your bed, well, how are you going to sleep on the clean clothes? No, you're going to end up putting them away, Same thing with the pantry. Empty it. Put it all on your kitchen table. Make that a project. Don't do anything more than that. Like if you're going to tackle something big, let that be the only thing that day. Don't overwhelm yourself. But empty one cabinet at a time. Take everything out. Check the expiration date. If you bought it more than a year ago, and if you don't even remember buying it, let's donate it if it's not expired. Strategies. Give yourself plenty of time. Take it slow. Stay calm. You can turn it into a game that might not be for everybody. But if you have somebody to help you, they might ask you questions. Well, where did that come from? I don't know. Okay, let's get rid of it. Take a break. Take lots of breaks. Put some music on. So that way you can keep a momentum going. If you've got family and friends that you can invite over to do, now don't forget, that means you owe them a favor. So you might have to do that for them, which okay, that's okay. Or you can hire somebody like me. That's another option. Strategies, take a picture. Pictures are wonderful. They may not be the same as being able to hold the item, but I mean, if you inherited a grand piano, I don't think that may not fit in your new space. So take a picture of it. Write on the back of that picture, if you're doing a physical picture, the year you got it, who gave it to you, who used to play it, where the sheet music is. Put it in a photo album. Photo albums are a lot more passed downable, I think I just made that up, than the actual item itself. Consider storage. It might work. Small one, not too big, because at some point that storage is still going to have to be dealt with. So you got to remember that. Start now. I use this, and it works. When you hang up your clothes, turn the hanger the other way and hook it towards you. When you wear it and you use it, put it back on the right way. In 6 weeks, 6 months, if you still have hangers that are facing you, that means you haven't touched that piece of clothing in that long. Chances are you're not going to wear it, unless it's like a Halloween costume or, you can donate it. Chances are somebody else might be able to wear it. One item a day, one piece of something from a room. Don't let it overwhelm you. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. If you take your time. Here we go. Cardboard box test. Put unused items in a box and put a future date on it, 3 to 6 months out, general. Set a reminder, whether it's in your phone, on your calendar, you go 3 to 6 months up and you write check box, whatever, wherever it is. If you haven't needed anything in that box, chances are you won't. Donate it. Make sure the things you're putting in there are donatable first, and then that way you can just donate it. Sentimental items. Recognize where the value comes from, keep the memories, and create boundaries. Celebrate the history of the item, uncover the stories behind the stuff, keep the item that brings you the most happiness. Create a legacy list of a few items that will enhance your life today and best relay who you are to the next generation. Matt Paxton, the writer of that book. I did talk about that, writing a description of it. Pass it along, only if they want it. Donate it to charity if you can. Repurposeful. We gave that book away today, the very first one. Another one is The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. How to free yourself and your family from a lifetime of clutter. You can sell items. We had a little pre-meeting discussion. I'm going to start wrapping it up. We've got about 10 minutes before people might want to start going to lunch. It's 11:45. Tag sales, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Poshmark for clothing, eBay. Now, we do work with estate sales. Estate sales are very similar to any kind of business there is, supply and demand, what's in need, what are people looking for, what are people looking to get rid of. Right now, it's sad to say, people are not looking for grandfather clocks. People are not looking for dark wood furniture, like that type of dark wood, the beautiful dark cherry wood that I would kill to have. People aren't looking for that kind. Some people, I am the exception. Some people are not looking for that kind of stuff. They don't want it. They want the light colors and the modern clean lines and the beiges and the neutrals, and not everybody likes that stuff, but that's right now, that's what's in demand. So for auctions, for estate sales, most of the time, it has to be, the auction company has to make at least $3,000, which means usually 30 to 50% is what the standard agreement is between the profit for the estate sale company. I'll go with a higher and I'll say 50. So there has to be at least $6,000 worth of things, whether it's a few really rare, expensive pieces you have, or it's an overabundance of things that can be sold that are being sought after. If that's not the case, you may not be eligible for an estate sale. Now, you can put, just like tag sale flyers, you can put an estate sale and host, like technically a garage sale, a tag sale, and call it an estate sale and allow people in the house and make offers on whatever. That you can absolutely do on your own. I would definitely enlist the help of family and friends, even neighbors. But it's, most people, this might be hard to hear for some, most people expect to make back what they paid for it when they bought it. That's not the case. It's not the case. If you have one of those rare, pieces, I'll give you an example. This wonderful lady named Priscilla in Connecticut, she had inherited from her great-great-grandfather, great-grandfather, and father a whole warehouse. No, that's a little extremist. It wasn't a warehouse. It was a large, large space. There were Bibles from the 1600s. There were swords used in overseas fights from, I think, the 1400s. She had tapestries from a castle in Germany. She was like the ideal person for any estate sale company. Her cut after was $25,000. That's how much stuff. Her page on, so when we deal with estate sale companies, there is a website called Auction Ninja. You can look it up when you get home, auctionninja.com. Most estate sale companies will use this website to post. I mean, when you think about how much things go online, you have a much broader audience when you post it online. Auctions don't just happen in a warehouse. You can have it in your home, but the item is still going to be photographed and it's still going to be posted online. You get a better outcome when you have a wider audience. So when you think about the things that you have, you might be able to do an estate sale, you might not. But she made out. She had the right things. She had the items that were worth the top tier, which is called Black Rock Galleries. They're high antique. They look for those types of things. They have clientele that wait. I'm looking for something specific. You please let me know if it's going to be up for auction. And then you have the whole bidding war. That's kind of how you make out with things. There's a mid-tier, which is called clearinghouse estate sales. Those are for the really nice pieces of furniture, the Haywood Wakefield furniture, the Hummels, things like that you may not have a whole lot of, but you've got some of. So it really depends on what you have. If it's not that and that's not for you, you might just have to be on one of those items right there. Everybody has the ability to sell things on their own if you want to. It does take some work, but you can do it. For many seniors, downsizing is synonymous with purging. It can be stressful for those who hang on to sentimental items, but proper downsizing is really right-sizing and it involves balancing interests in the past and the future and respect for the past. Oh, I said past, it was present. So decluttering is a lifestyle, it's not a project. It's something that you have to be mindful of, methodical of, and you've got to continue with. You've got to stay focused with it. Your home is like a garden. It does need space to breathe. And just like a garden, if you let something stay without taking care of it, it will become overgrown. Unnecessary belongings create unnecessary burdens. So these are some of the resources I was talking about. Digital conversion for photos, slides, negatives, film, everpresent.com. Legacy box is pretty popular. That's one of the bigger ones. Usually, and this is a hit or miss. Sometimes the bigger companies can give you better deals. It depends on what you have for them to transfer, for them to make into, whether it's a cloud, a DVD, a USB drive. You have the option to tell them what you want and how you want to get those items back. for antiques, pricesforantiques.com, so that way you can have an idea, if you do have an antique, what it's worth. I mean, it's better for you to know the value of it so you have a stronger leg to stand on when it comes time to sell it. Another one, replacements.com. Buy and sell china, crystal, silver, flatware, collectibles, and estate jewelry. It's not an empty nest until they get their stuff out of the basement. Tell them to come get their stuff. You've had that painting of their fingers since they were 5. They're about to be 40. You don't need it. Give it to their kids. They can see it. How small is Daddy's hand? Let's see. Is yours bigger? Tell them to get their stuff out of your house. Or they'll never see it again. You're going to toss it, even if you don't really do that. Tell them you're going to toss it.
I'm gonna wrap it up for Christmas and give it to them at Christmas.
That is genius.
Here you go.
No. There's a comic. I wish I had it up here, but I couldn't find it for the life of me. I'm going to find it. That's my goal. It is a comic of a gentleman with a walker. He's standing next to his son, and they're in front of a storage box, a storage unit, right? And the unit door is all the way up, and it's just chock full of boxes. And he says, "Son, someday this will all be yours." If you love your children, don't do that to them. If you don't like them, it's okay. Thank you guys so much. I hope this was helpful. If you want to fill out that survey, fill it out, leave it with me. You can also leave it with Alicia if you don't have time to do it now, and I can get it from her later on.